because of the internet, one was able to summon the other sides of a strong propaganda narrative in seconds. You could do this. You could do this with the Kennedy assassination, for example. So you could find all kinds of other evidence, and you can probably still find that. But what's happening even as we speak is that, evidence for counter narratives that are relevant at this moment is just being scrubbed all over the place. Links are broken. Stuff is buried. It's covered up with all kinds of fact checking. And you find that people, journalists, and so on, are intimidated into silence. So there's a very, very destructive, repressive trend going on. And I can't say how I will be able to continue teaching the subject. I will, wherever I end up. But I want to stress again, this is grounds for optimism, that overall my experience with students has been deeply gratifying. And people on my website can find the well over 50 letters that have been written on my behalf to the dean, both from students and from visitors to my classes over the years, that attest to my civility and politeness of the way I treat my students, but also of the excitement in the classroom, when they get to hear something that they had no idea was the case before. We're having this conversation at such a bizarre moment, it's as if the gates are clanging shut on us. But what this requires is that we find ways to talk around the jackboot, or whatever you want to call it,
Yes, we create an underground, a samizdat.
A samizdat, yeah. Which is tricky. It's tricky online because it's very easy to be surveyed when you're online. But the point you made earlier is very, very relevant. The two things going on. We have two institutions that should be helping to create and encourage independent-minded citizens. And those institutions are the schools and the media. And they've both failed completely, or I should say they've both been corrupted, profoundly corrupted. The schools are increasingly inclined to teach a kind of mechanical memorization and to discourage critical thinking, and certainly to maintain the blackout on the dark side of Western history and American history. I find that...
Well, Europe is a part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yes. I find... I'd like to hear what it's like in the Netherlands. I find here there is no awareness among teachers at any level of the history of the CIA's activities worldwide and in the United States. None. They don't know it. It's an unknown history. They say that's conspiracy theory. But it's not. It's history. In my propaganda course, we read a memoir by Ralph McGehee, My 25 Years in the CIA. It's one of about 6 or 7 really indispensable memoirs by former CIA officers who were deeply disillusioned. But once you're acquainted with the history of how intelligence agencies, not just in the US, but Britain, Israel, all over, how they have engineered certain events, how they have carried out false flag operations, if one knows precisely how sophisticated they are at that kind of manipulation, one is readier to accept the likelihood that certain things we see here and now are not spontaneous, but they are theater, theater.